Your Majesty at your service. Welcome to Fair Queen Talks. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of my podcast, Ethical Consumption. Over the years of becoming a parent, I have consciously chosen to declutter my home and become a minimalist. For context, the global baby products market size was estimated at around 214 US billion in 2021. And as part of this, a lot of products and services are marketed at parents. As I was embarking on my journey to parenthood, I saw the world through a whole new lens. All my eyes could see and my ears could hear were the amount of things babies needed and how expensive it was to have children. So when I had my baby shower, my suggested presents were nappies, diapers for my US listeners, because I knew that I would have to purchase a lot of nappies for my twin children. And I kid you not, the amount of nappies I received lasted me for a whole year. And my girl's bedroom was stuffed with nappies everywhere. Little did I know that nappies would be a very hot commodity during the COVID pandemic. And I didn't have to worry about running out and fighting with other consumers to get more stock. And obviously, when becoming a parent, there are things that you'll need to get. Some things are nice to have, and some things are not necessary, but it's a privilege or a luxury and more of a want. And the ultimate problem with great marketing is that companies have a great skill in tricking you that you need their products because they present to you how their product is offering you a solution to the problems that you may arise. And as a new parent, you're heavily influenced by these marketing voices. And during this phase of my life, I focused on becoming a minimalist. And this included thinking about ethically consuming baby products and not fall trap to unnecessary debt and having stuff that I didn't actually need. So, on today's episode, I want to delve into the topic of ethical consumption. This episode is relevant to this period of, the season of consumption during retail because sales go over the roof because of things like Black Friday, as you may hear today, listening live or just as I upload this episode, and Cyber Monday that are coming up. And a lot of November and December will drive people to different brands for different reasons. And as I and hopefully yourself are on a journey of becoming more self-aware, it is good to understand yourself as a consumer and consider being ethical in your approach to consumption. Overconsumption or the lack of it can lead people to debt, depression, and other things. The ability and level our consumption in this capitalist world is often linked to our ideas around success and wealth. And when you are a self aware person, you have the ability or you gain the ability to detach your ideas of self worth and success away from your level or ability of consumption. So stay tuned to this episode. I may cough sometimes, so apologies for that. But this message is very important to me and hopefully to you as well. So a few weeks ago, while speaking to a colleague at work, my colleague mentioned that they were trying to be more ethical in their approach to consumption. And the conversation spoke about things like being mindful of where and how products are being sourced, buying local products where possible, go to thrift or secondhand stores, and researching what brands are doing in terms of working practices, commitments, and sustainability. And in this era of retail, consumers have voiced the importance of ethical products, and companies do make an effort to share with their consumers and the public of how they meet their customer demand. And this practice has sparked a new term that you may be familiar with. It's called greenwashing. Greenwashing can be defined as when an organization spends more time and money on marketing itself as environmentally friendly than on actually minimizing its environmental impact. And this is seen as a very deceitful marketing gimmick used by companies to exaggerate their environmentally friendly actions. So, keeping this in mind, it can sometimes make it difficult for ethical consumers to differentiate between good companies from deceitful companies. Moreover, it means that ethical consumers have to spend more time researching. Now, this is not necessarily a bad thing, but if you want to be consciously aware of your consumption, then that means you can't trust what's on labels. So, why does it matter? Why does it matter to be conscious? And what difference does it make to your personal life and your mind that the products that you purchase are ethical? So, on this episode, I'll give you 3 points for you to consider. So, number one, ethical consumerism is all about choosing goods that are ethically sourced, ethically made, and ethically distributed. When enough consumers shop in an ethical, conscious way, it can cause companies to take notice and address their supply chain practices. Like mentioned earlier, some companies may still commit things like greenwashing. However, for them to greenwash, they're acknowledging that it's an important factor for their customers to look at sustainability, to look at being more sustainable in way that they practice their business. So, as consumers who call out brands who do greenwashing, we can eventually live in a world where we can trust all the labels that we see. So, hopefully, by learning more and being aware of what brands are doing, we can call them out. And because of this, reduce the number of brands who are greenwashing. And eventually, what we see on labels will be true. So, number two. It encourages innovative products and companies while discouraging others that ignore the social and environmental consequences of their actions. It empowers the consumer, giving you a say in how products you buy are made and how the company that makes them conducts its business. Whether we accept it or not, our behaviors in consumptions contribute to inequalities across the world. When we think of sweatshops or child labor, some of our favorite brands are complicit. If we purchase ethically or as much as we can enjoy products knowing we are not complicit in negative practices, and this brings a peace to our minds. And my third point, in the end of the day, we are hopefully all looking for a society where the environment is respected, where human rights are properly protected, and animals are no longer cruelly exploited. But wider than that, we look beyond government control of the way we live and how companies act, believing real power should lie in the hands of individuals and communities. And as more people are becoming more conscious about themselves and hopefully more conscious about the world around them, we will reflect how we feel inside in the way that we consume. So these are three things that make it better for ourselves, but also the world if we choose to be more ethically consumers. So, in a world of limited resources, the focus on consumerism can feel like a system that advocates an ever increasing level of consumption and equates such consumption with personal well being, economic progress, social fulfillment, and can be a recipe for ecological disaster. Now, there is no right way to be an ethical consumer. Most of us apply ethical parameters to our choices and actions in some ways. To think and act in an ethical way is to start from a point of personal reflection, develop and redevelop our values, and understand how our choices affect the outcomes of our actions in order to develop a set of principles which can help to direct our patterns of consumption. We need to become as well informed as possible about a wide range of issues and not just looking at one point of ethical consumption. Becoming or being a minimalist is helping me on my journey to become more self aware and a more ethical consumer. Our personal finances can dictate what products we can access and so forth. Therefore, I can't just sit here and say that you can't go and buy or purchase cheap products, although inflation has raised everything, so cheaper products are getting more expensive anyway. But what I can say is that it's more helpful for your own pocket, your mind, and those producing the products that you are more mindful about how you utilize your buying power. Many of us exchange our time, skills, or talents for money, as we need that in this world. We all want to be paid a fair wage for our efforts, and we should encourage an economy where all people that work have a fair wage, which allows them to participate in the society they live in, have a home, food, and so much more. No person, animal, or environment should be damaged or treated unfairly in this process. And by being or trying to be an ethical consumer, for me, is to be a person who keeps this at the forefront of their mind when using their buying power. Like a quote that everyone knows, with great power comes great responsibility. And as we are and become ethical consumers, we can have the confidence that we are making the world a better place, one purchase at a time. So whether it be Black Friday, Cyber Monday, or any other day of the week, be mindful of your buying power and remember to use your buying power to enrich your life. At the end of each episode, I address the queendom. Be conscious of your level of consumption in this economy and prioritize needs over wants. When focusing on our needs, we are consciously exchanging our time and energy for things that add to our happiness, well-being, security, and safety in this world. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of my podcast, Fair Queen Souls. See you next time.